Okay, so the webinar is live. We should see people jumping in here. So we still have about 5 minutes to go. We're going to wait for everybody to just kind of pile in here. So welcome to everybody who's here already, and we're just waiting for the room to fill up. We have another 4.5 minutes or so to go, and then we'll get started on this webinar. Welcome to everybody who's already here. We have another 3.5 minutes or so to go. The room is filling up. We'll get started at 2 o'clock exactly in a little over 3 minutes. Welcome everyone. This is Philip Jepson at ManageByStats. We'll be starting shortly. If you can hear us, if you could just go into the chat box and just say you hear us or say hello, that would be awesome. Thank you, Marcy and Linda. That's great. Dave and Patty, Sharon, John, Harper, Tom, Charlie. Okay, we got lots of people piling in here. And we have just about a minute or so to go. So we'll get started shortly. Okay. So this is Philip Jepson, and we have an echo here. I guess I'm going to ignore that and carry on. So this is Philip Jepson at ManageByStats. It's 2 o'clock. Thank you so much for being here on the webinar. And I'm still hearing an echo. Is anybody else? Yeah, other people are hearing an echo too. Does anybody have their speakers on here? Let's see here. That's a setting we need to set.
It's gone now. It's gone now.
It's gone now? Okay, good. So we're going to get started. Again, this is Philip Jepson. I'm with ManageByStats. I'm the owner here. I got Morgan here as well. And then we are very excited to have Marcus Cudd and Diane Radcliffe from SearchworxX here as well. They're going to give us a briefing on what to do going beyond Amazon. I think most of us here already have good businesses going on Amazon, and we are certainly all looking forward to jumping outside of Amazon and expand outside of Amazon as well. And that's what this presentation is all about. As you may have noticed, there has for a few weeks now, there's been a button inside of ManageByStats or a tab called SearchworxX, where you can connect up your ManageByStats account to SearchworxX. And so this is an interesting partnership we're doing here that opens up some possibilities. And I'm going to introduce Marcus here and have him talk about this. So Marcus, if you're there, can you take over?
Sure. Thanks, Philip. Thanks, Morgan. Appreciate you having us here today. We've are excited to really talk about this new partnership that we have with ManageByStats. And at the same time, we want to talk about how you can get the most value and use out of it. So I'm going to jump right in and get started. So what's this webinar about? Well, the reason we want to present to you today is because the biggest question we get is how can we help companies diversify their sales so they're not 100% reliant on Amazon. As part of that, they want to know how they're actually going to compete with Amazon, how they can launch an e-commerce business right away. So we'll get into that diversification, but a big piece of that is having your own e-commerce platform and being able to do that fairly quickly. And then on top of that, how to build a marketing machine that works for you, and how do you do that at a lower cost. So we'll get started. So who am I? I'm Marcus Cudd. I'm the founder of SearchworxX. We're a performance digital marketing company. We founded this company in 2007, so we've been at this for about a decade. We're Amazon sellers as well as internet entrepreneurs, as well as a performance digital marketing company. Our biggest clients are agencies who do not have internal digital marketing staff. So they hire our company, SearchworxX, to really be the sub-agent to their agency to manage their clients. This includes clients that have Amazon accounts or that sell on Amazon and some other third-party systems, as well as having their own e-commerce site or looking to launch their own e-commerce site. We specialize in performance marketing, which means sales and lead generation. So if you have an e-commerce site, we specialize in driving sales. If you're a services company, we specialize in lead generation. So again, it's about the result more so than anything else. And for the last 3-4 years, we've been helping companies that live exclusively on Amazon to actually create sales channels outside of Amazon. For this presentation, I'm going to focus mostly on the concepts of building your own e-commerce platform as opposed to using other third-party channels like eBay, Jet, etc. I think people are fairly familiar with those, and there's lots of courses out there about using those channels. I think what most people are interested in is understanding their own e-commerce sales channel on their own site. So why are we presenting? So we've been helping Amazon sellers diversify their businesses on the web, like I said, for the last 3 to 4 years. We've become experts in that process in Amazon selling and digital marketing in general. We have experience well beyond Amazon. We have created a tool that automates a necessary step in the process if you're a ManageByStats customer. So if you've already have an account with ManageByStats or want to get an account with ManageByStats, this tool is really a necessary part of your arsenal in order to start diversifying your business outside of Amazon. We have experience to share in this space on what actually works when trying to build your own e-commerce channel, and we want to help you take that first step. So this tool exists to help you really start to move in that direction. Just as a little background on us, some of the clients we deal with are in higher ed and in consumer packaged products or consumer packaged goods. We have several of these brands that actually initially existed as manufacturing brands that were just using a retail distribution network, wanted to sell directly, started selling on Amazon, as well as wanting to sell on their own e-commerce channel. We've done apparel, accessories, cosmetics, medical products, toys, office products, all types of things. We also do lead generation as a corporate provider for Keller Williams Real Estate out of Austin. We've done a lot of B2B, particularly in the manufacturing space, product manufacturing space with specialized audiences. So we have a wide range of experience with different types of companies, different products, different services. So the first question is, should I sell on Amazon? I think that's really a no-brainer. Of course you want to sell on Amazon because that's where the buyers are. And there's nothing about what we're going to talk about today that's going to advocate that you shouldn't be on Amazon. Really what we're talking about is being able to maintain your Amazon business, but rather than being 100% reliant, you want to create another channel that could potentially be 30 or 40% of all your sales, and that you have more control over those buyers and more control on what you sell through that channel. Amazon's always going to be a major channel of your business. It's necessary. I mean, that's where the buyers are. So, you always want to reckon with the fact that you're going to want to sell on Amazon. It's a great way to test new product ideas. So that's one of the biggest things I advocate to companies that are looking at Amazon as a potential sales channel or looking to move away, or at least diversify, is that they always want to have some new product rolled out in Amazon as a way to test whether or not the product is viable. You can take a set of prototype products, just put them on the marketplace, see how well they sell, test different price points, and test the types of keywords that actually sell the product. All those things, really, it's great market research. So you always want to consider that as part of why you want to stick with Amazon. It's also a good way to see what your competition is doing and what they're selling and what people say about their products in the marketplace. Again, by being in Amazon, you can see really how you stack up with the competition. And listen, let's face it, Amazon continues to innovate. They do a great job on the inventory management space. They can be part of your supply chain, as you already know. Even with your own e-commerce site, they can be part of your supply chain and really make your life easy. So it's necessary to continue that Amazon relationship. So why do you want to diversify, or why do you need to diversify in addition to Amazon? If all those things on the last slide are true, so why do we need to diversify? Well, to a certain extent, they control your destiny. Whatever they decide to do, you have to live with. This can be something that is really business hindering. They make a decision regarding the category you're in. They make a decision about your product specifically. Those are things that greatly impact your business, which I'm sure you're already aware of. They allow copycats to exist. Now, they try to do some policing of the marketplace. I've heard from a lot of sellers the frustration with foreign sellers being able to copy and mimic product that you're selling here and that you have manufactured overseas and sell through Amazon. That it's easy to be copied, and that it's a whack-a-mole problem for Amazon to solve. But that's probably going to remain for a long time, as long as they allow international sellers. Amazon also has a reputation for copying bestsellers. So if you have a product and it's doing well, Amazon will attempt to potentially move you into a situation where you're just selling to them directly and they're reselling. But when they're not successful with that, lots of times they'll just create their own version of the product, particularly if you're private labeling something that's fairly commoditized. You're doing the market research for them, they'll see the sales numbers and they'll replicate that. It's rapidly, from our perspective, turning into a pay-to-play type of system. And what I'm talking about is Amazon ads, which some of you may be using and some of you may not be using, but that Amazon ads will continue to play a greater role in how much traffic you get and how you get positioned in the system. I don't have any type of crystal ball. It's just a feeling I get from using the platform that's the direction that they're going. And lastly, of course, the nightmare for everybody is, you could wake up one day to a closed account, and then you have to go through an appeal process to try to get your account back open. Most of you have probably tried to defend yourself by having multiple seller accounts, things like that. But at the end of the day, they control whether or not your business is open or closed on their platform. So let's analyze why people buy on Amazon. So we all buy on Amazon, we sell on Amazon, but we also all buy on Amazon. It's a preferred shopping mode. So we all love Amazon Prime. Those of us that have it, we get fast, free shipping as a Prime customer. The upside to that is that it's free and it's fast and it's reliable. We trust that our packages are going to come when Amazon tells us they're going to come. So we've also, as a country, people who shop on Amazon have become used to this as the norm, that they should be getting fast, free shipping because that's what Amazon does. And so, we know we're going to get it from Amazon, and that's why we order there. We also know that if we want to return something, it's as simple as indicating you're going to return, printing a slip, slapping it back on the box, and sending it back. It's no questions asked to get your money back. That's very powerful, particularly for people who are purchasing something online, feel like it's a little bit of an unknown, that at least they know they can buy from Amazon and trust to be able to return that with no problems. Another big part of Amazon that really has helped them grow is the ability to aggregate reviews. They have a very robust system of asking buyers to leave reviews for products. They want both reviews on sellers and reviews on the products themselves. And they spend a great deal of time requesting those reviews. In fact, they're very diligent. I would call it almost militaristic in their approach to trying to get reviews. So I know that if I buy a product, almost immediately, within a day or two, they're emailing me to get me to review the product. This is because Amazon knows that people really, they do a ton of user experience testing. They do a ton of focus group analysis. They absolutely know that when people are looking at buying a product, that they spend a lot of time reading the reviews, figure out if that's right for them. And people know that the best reviews for those products are on Amazon. Amazon has also worked to clean up the fake reviews and the review farms that exist out there. They've really started to crack down on that. And I think anybody who was using a review farm in the past has probably seen those businesses. Some of them still are out there, but it's not as big as it was for a time. And there's very rarely anything that you can't find on Amazon. And that's another reason why people start there. All of those 4 bullets above are the reason they start there. If they can't find it on there, then they will go another route. But Amazon has just about everything, it seems. So the question we most often get is, how do you compete with that? If I'm selling on Amazon and I want to diversify a little bit away from Amazon. How am I going to compete with Amazon to do that? There's a couple of things that you have to acknowledge and realize and accept as part of competing with Amazon. And it's number one, it's not about saving the money that Amazon takes as part of a sale. So Amazon spends a lot of money on marketing, retargeting, emailing, display. They spend a ton of money on technology. And they're the 800-pound gorilla in the retail space. That is worth a lot. I mean, it's the reason you're on their platform is because they dominate. And so, from their perspective, on average, you're paying about 30%. Some of you might be paying more on what it is that they take from your sales. It's the number one complaint I get when we're talking to a company that's on Amazon and is looking to move away, or I should say diversify, not move away completely. But they take so much of what I make. And, part of that isn't necessarily a problem with Amazon. It's really a problem with your margins, how much you're acquiring a product for, how much you have built into your profitability on the product, and how that factors into how well you're going to sell on Amazon. If you want to sell hundreds of an item per day, you have to be in the buy box and you have to have a price to be in the buy box. It's going to be difficult sometimes to make money knowing that, on the bottom you have your cost of acquisition, on the top you have Amazon's cost of marketing as part of the transaction. So you're getting squeezed there in the middle. Essentially you're the middleman if you're not manufacturing the product yourself. But that's not really the reason you want to diversify. It's not to save yourself money. It's about controlling your business and then being able to grow the business. There's a certain plateau or peak you might hit on Amazon as far as being able to develop your business. You have to be able to move beyond that. And essentially, you have to have control over whether or not your business exists in your best sales channel. You got to realize that buyers have been trained to get free shipping. We talked about that in the last slide. Buyers want free shipping and they want no cost returns. This is something that they've been trained to get. This is sometimes hard for a seller who wants to establish themselves in their own e-commerce site. They talk about, it's too expensive to offer free shipping, and what if somebody is, returning a product too often, and will they lose money? These are things that, while I understand the concern, by selling on Amazon, we've trained people that they should be able to get these products with free shipping and low risk, no cost returns. So we have to plan our outside channels on how we can offer something similar to this, if not offering more value. We have to realize, and we'll come back to that, and we'll get into more detail on how you do that. So we also want to acknowledge that buyers like reviews. That's a necessary part of the other channels you offer. So on your e-commerce website, the ability to get reviews, but also that process of asking for reviews and doing that follow-up, that has to be a diligent part of your process. I know it's time and money to set up, but at the same time, it's hugely valuable to people when they see the experience other people have from buying from you. What most retailers acknowledge and understand is that the way they compete is on brand experience. So customers do fall in love with products, but generally they fall in love with the brand behind the product. When you're selecting a certain type of product, even if it's commoditized, it's going to come down to this decision of who would I rather buy from. People point with millennials at the social justice aspect of brands they support, what type of corporate social mission they have. These are all elements of brand that are important to people, and how they make buying decisions. There are people who refuse to shop at Walmart because they think some of Walmart's corporate policies don't agree with what they think they should be doing for employees, what they do to mom and pop businesses, things like that. I think some of that might be a little overblown, but at the same time, it's just what people perceive. It's part of that brand. Right now, Amazon is considered a safe brand, and because everybody buys from there, and people realize there's a sense of trust with that. But that's the extent of the brand to a lot of people. When it comes to certain types of products, people absolutely will gravitate to a certain kind of brand, particularly with something like apparel or food. Those anything really personal to people, they really become attached to brands that they are comfortable with or want to associate with. And the last line of that is buyers like to get a deal. It's one of what I consider, even though Amazon offers discounts and coupon codes and things like that that you can implement with your products, one of the advantages that you have with your own store is that you can get really creative with the kinds of deals that you can give buyers, deals that you can't necessarily give on Amazon. And these are definitely ways to hook people into a channel outside of Amazon. Let's talk about a little bit about fundamentals with e-commerce in general. And this relates specifically to people who are selling on Amazon. Some clients actually start with the e-commerce and then decide to move to Amazon because they're not getting enough traction with their own site. But this really applies to both cases. So you're going to spend about 30% or more of your margin on the first sale you get from a customer. It's cost of marketing, cost of customer acquisition. It's this process of whether you use email or Facebook ads or organic SEO or PR, any of those channels, social media as well. You're going to have some cost of doing business to get those people in as a customer. What's important is not necessarily that first sale. What's important is bringing that customer back, essentially winning that customer so that they're going to buy from you again. If you get too focused on that first sale, it'll be one of those calculations that you can never see yourself getting over. It's like, well, that means every customer is going to cost me this much. Every time I make a sale, I'll never make any money. The reality is you have that cost factored into the first time that customer buys from you. What you want to do is learn how to build that lifetime customer value. And then you'll find that percentage of that first sale starts to go down as compared to the lifetime value of that customer. One of the things that we found is one of the most successful ways to sell outside of Amazon is continuity. And in fact, every brand or business will tell you that their success comes lots of times from continuity. The idea that a customer will continue to come back to you organically to continue to buy from you is really what makes a lot of businesses succeed versus the ones that fail. If a client buys and they're once and done, or customer buys and they're once and done, and there's no continuity to bringing them back or having them buy from you on a regular basis, it can be hard to get established. But one of the things we focus on with clients that want to move and diversify from Amazon is how we can build a continuity program to help them succeed on that move. One of the things we mentioned on a prior slide was that we taught customers to find your product on Amazon. We now have to go through this process of teaching them about your brand and where's the best place to find it is. So is it social media? Is it your website? Places where they can actually learn about and engage with your brand and understand why they should buy from you. These are things that you can use to teach a customer. You're essentially retraining them on where they need to look for and buy your product from. A couple of rules, the last three are really, really important rules as it relates to what you sell. we really talk a lot to sellers about what they're selling, the competition in their market, particularly when it comes to a commoditized item. So if you're selling a product that outside of price, outside of competing on price, there's really no other way to compete. Essentially, you know, you're competing against other people selling the exact same product. Maybe it's a different color, but it doesn't really differentiate itself in form or feature. Then you're really always dealing with a race to the bottom, and it can be really hard. Excuse me. It can be really hard to actually establish a brand where you're always kind of racing to the bottom on price. So you want to really build your business around a product that isn't a commodity. As a corollary to that, you don't want to sell crap ever. You want to read the reviews of what your customers say about your product. If they don't like it, or if they think there's problems with it, you really need to focus on fixing that before you would start your own e-commerce channel. This is something that really makes or breaks a lot of businesses, is they don't pay attention to what customers are saying, or if they are paying attention, they take too long to fix the problem. This is one of these things where I think where sellers are actually really good is trying to sell something that people want. I think sometimes there's too much focus on what it is customers buying and what kind of margins are being made on that product to really think about what the quality of that product is. It's just, kind of filling a gap, so to speak. And that might work for a little while, but then you're forever looking for another product to replace it with when people start to, talk poorly about it. So make sure you fix any problems you have with your product and what you're reading in your customer reviews. And lastly, be unique. There are a lot of gurus out there selling the idea of going through and using tools to discover maybe little niches on Amazon, and they're essentially advocating selling in niches where there aren't a lot of players, things like that. You want to at least try to be unique if you're doing that. So that could be bundling a product or adding a feature to a product, doing something unique that makes your product completely different from the rest of what the market is selling. That uniqueness goes a long way to helping establish your brand. So when we're looking at building an e-commerce site, the actual focus should be on the brand, not your product. Products can change. Accessories to those products can change. Services around products can change. But brand is what's going to be your mainstay. It's going to be the thing that people identify you by. If you don't have a product that you think can represent a brand that you would like to buy from very well, then you need to make that change. The idea is that you can develop you usually will start with a product, but the idea is, okay, what kind of business do I want to have that features this product? What is that business going to do for the long term? And what's its mission? What's its purpose? How do we want it to align with other people's values and the way people shop? And so you really have to have a serious conversation with yourself and anybody that you work with about how you establish your brand, what you call it, what it looks like, what's the mission statement, what are the social values, what are the product values that are demonstrated as part of your brand. And many of you are probably familiar with, I believe last week, it was when Pepsi, a well-established brand, decided to get away from talking about their product altogether and kind of did a socialized commercial, and they failed miserably, mostly because they weren't really focused on their core mission. They went outside of that, and they actually tried to get in the middle of a social discussion between different groups. As a brand, you don't want to be in the middle of that discussion. You want to be outside of that discussion, and not dealing with, you know, a political hot topic. So it's the type of thing where you want to go in a direction with brand where it's very clear where you stand, what you represent, and what your product exists for, what problems you want to solve. The other thing about an e-commerce system is it must be easy to do e-commerce with you. Simple navigation. It shouldn't be 5 clicks to find a product. Buttons that are easy to use on mobile or desktop. There are too many sellers that are really obsessed about their desktop view, and then their responsive mobile view is kind of an afterthought. More and more buyers, particularly millennials, the only computer they own are phones. You're probably going to be looking in the next few years that 70 to 75% of the traffic on e-commerce sites is going to be mobile devices. And so in many cases, you should really be designing your e-commerce site around a mobile view. And again, if your demographic matches a younger demographic, you definitely want to be focused on your mobile view and how that works, and making sure buttons are clearly marked and clearly drive people very easily into the things that they want. Prices need to be clearly displayed. So this is something that actually, surprisingly, I find on a lot of sites, particularly ones where people are asking us to look at, you know, what's going on their site that they're not generating a lot of sales. It's that the customer gets frustrated actually trying to find out what something costs. Number one thing we find on those types of sites is that cart abandonment is very high because of, you know, they end up adding a product to the cart to get to checkout to actually figure out what's it going to cost me. So if they don't know clearly what the product price is and what the shipping costs are going to be, if you're charging for shipping, and any other types of taxes or fees that are associated with it, it's actually hard for them to want to do commerce. They have to engage and actually start a checkout process and then abandon it once they know what that costs. That's actually a frustrating process for people that they really don't want to go through. And so making prices very clear and making discounts very clear, it's really important. The other thing is unique product descriptions. Just about every seller we start with an engagement with will look at just sending us the manufacturer's description of their product, or the exact same description they're using on Amazon. Unfortunately, if that puts you in a position organically of competing with Amazon. Believe it or not, product descriptions are super important from the standpoint of what Google wants to show organically. If you're showing a similar or same product as Amazon or another e-commerce retailer, but your product description is different, you have a much greater chance of sending out in organic search results than everybody who's using the same product description. So that's a really, really important feature you want to build into any type of e-commerce site you're going to launch, as well as very clear, detailed images. Again, this is where we get into an issue of sellers just wanting to use the images that they get from manufacturers. Now, in some cases, manufacturers will direct that those are the images you have to use, and you really can't get around that. But what we typically do is we encourage sellers to get some of their sample product, hire a professional photographer, and actually take unique, really detailed pictures of the product. Show angles, show features more closely, show angles that are not on Amazon and other places. Actually, pictures convey 1,000 words, as they say, and if you have more of that detail in your product listing and product description, that actually does increase sales. So we talked a little bit about being mobile. We talked about responsive, and for anybody who doesn't know what responsive means, it's just the process of your site responding to the size of the screen that someone is using to look at your site. So we build that into the design. The style sheet of the site understands that based on the size of the screen, that a different design really needs to be shown, which is essentially the design resizing itself in many aspects to fit. There are a lot of rules we create as far as how things should be ordered on that type of display, and you really have to focus on what that mobile looks like, so as we mentioned earlier. Sites need to be fast. So one of the biggest SEO advantages right now in April of 2017 is site speed. It has a much greater impact on the SEO than I think most of the SEOs out there talk about. We've seen that when we increase, if anybody's familiar with, there's a page speed tool in Google. It's free to use. You put your URL in it, and Google will tell you on a scale of 1 to 100 what it rates that page. Most of the time when we see e-commerce sites, they rate out in the 30s or 40s, which is really low. So the number one thing we look at is where we're going to actually host it, whether or not it's using something called a CDN, a content display network, whether or not it's using optimized design files, if it's using compressed images, all these things that go to make your site run really fast. Google prefers, particularly for mobile devices, sites that use less bandwidth and actually operate a lot faster. So you're going to get a rankings boost out of the gate with a really fast website. The other thing we see sellers do as a mistake on sites that they've created ahead of time is a really long checkout process. Simple things like having them complete their name and address one time and allowing that to be used for billing and shipping and all that by just pressing a button. Those little things can really shorten up the checkout process. Having certain things pre-checked as part of the checkout process to make sure they're getting all the information that they're going to need post-sale. You want to have those things pre-checked. Putting the credit card information on the same screen as the address information you're having them complete, really putting that on one screen makes a lot more sense. The other part is actually giving them their cost on that very first checkout screen before they start putting their information in. Now, there are people who will advocate, no, get their information first before they start checkout, because at least you can capture an email address. That's going to be true sometimes, that they'll go that far to put their email address in order to get the price. But the problem is there are a lot of people who bail at that moment because they're just looking for the price, and then your cart abandonment rate goes up. They're not sure maybe yet whether or not they want to buy. But if you're putting that all on the same page, and essentially your checkout process is 1, maybe 2 pages long, you're actually going to see your cart abandonment rate go down, particularly when the product page information is so clear and the pricing is known and any additional fees are known before they start the checkout process. The longer they spend in the checkout process, the more likely they are to abandon it. And then the last thing that is super, super important is the post-sale follow-up. All of that communication that needs to be done post-sale. Obviously, we all know that order confirmations need to go out to the buyer, and shipping confirmations need to go out to the buyer, and a thank you email needs to go out to the buyer. Those are pretty basic things that I think all systems are really built to do. We're talking about post-sale communication after you fulfill the order. So that email follow-up that asks them to leave a review, that retargeting that lets them know about an accessory, that follow-up offer you can make to them that thanks them for being a customer. We're going to give you a one-time offer for this accessory at $20 off if you take advantage of it in the next 48 hours. So these follow-up emails that you can send to them to start increasing that lifetime customer value right off the bat. These are things that you want to have a follow-up process with and that you optimize over time. Post-sale communication, using the email, using text, using retargeting, all these things in parallel will actually start to increase your customer lifetime value and make it a regular thing that they actually buy through your website. So part of launching that website is kind of following these rules. Fast, free shipping, no questions asked return policy, clear, easy to find reviews, fast, easy checkout, and order tracking. These are the 4 things we advocate to every e-commerce seller. If it's feasible that they can do these things. It's really the same offer Amazon is making. So you really have to start at that spot. You got to start on the same level playing field. Amazon obviously has brand recognition ahead of you, but these are the features to buying from Amazon. You want to match that. Then you have an opportunity to make a better offer than Amazon. So we know there's rules about that you can't display prices on your site that are lower than the prices that you're displaying on Amazon. However, what we do is typically look at, hey, we'll put a couple product variations on Amazon, but we'll put more product variations on our own site. So if you sell a product and it comes in 20 colors, maybe you offer 5 on Amazon, but you offer the other 15 on your e-commerce site. It gives a customer a reason to shop with you as opposed to Amazon, particularly if color is important. And we'll show an example of that as well. You might want to offer your lead product on Amazon, but offer the accessories of that product on your own site. You don't want to necessarily give Amazon all of that follow-up product accessory business as well as getting the lead business. So give them the lead product, get that person using your product, and then if you're a ManageByStats customer, you have a process for getting your accessory product in front of that customer. You want to offer product continuity for customer convenience. I have talked to a lot of businesses that have an opportunity for a continuity of some type that they don't offer. That if they did, I would probably bet 15 to 25% of their customers would take advantage of, because it's something that they can set and forget and automatically have delivered every month. This is something that is wholly unutilized. Product continuity is not doable for most sellers on Amazon. I know Amazon offers product continuity for some products, but for the most of us, we don't have that access to do that. So we look at product continuity as a real differentiator on your site versus what you're doing on Amazon. As part of product continuity, you can offer a free membership. More and more retailers are out there looking at the membership model because they can get a customer commitment to sign up. They pay a certain fee every month, or they do it free, and it entitles that member on a free membership to get automatic discounts on everything they buy, or on a paid membership offers a certain amount of product that they would get delivered to them for free every month. The convenience of the continuity is something that would generally get people to commit to a membership like that. A free membership is generally a low barrier for people to sign up, give you their information, and find out what kind of offers do I get by being a free member. It's a great way to collect information, and it's a great way to test discounts that people really will respond to on your products. The other one, and this fifth one is generally speaking a little bit harder for some people to do, but I think is one of those things that is an unspoken, really important part of having your own e-commerce site. Offering customer phone support is really underutilized. Most sellers we talk to, particularly smaller sellers, will say, well, I don't want a bunch of people calling my office phone every day asking for help. I can't staff a support staff for getting lots of phone calls. The reality is most of the time, we don't see hundreds of calls coming with any of our clients from customers during a week. If you're selling, hundreds of thousands of units, yeah, you'll have a higher level of customer calls. And customers do call and they ask questions that you think should be obvious and that the information's on the website. And if they read the email you sent them, they wouldn't be calling you. Yes, all of those things are true. But the reality that there's a phone number on the site and that there's availability 5 or 7 days a week for someone to actually talk to on the phone to get answers about a product or your business, it actually inspires a lot of confidence in people. It makes you look like a real business. And in particular, if the person who handles the phone call is extremely professional, very courteous, goes out of the way to make the person happy, that's generally going to be a loyal customer who would rather buy from you because, frankly, they can't get that experience from Amazon. So let's talk a little bit about the brand experience. This is, really your best path of competing with Amazon. You want to really define the quality of what you offer. Your brand should represent quality in your space. There should be no question about when they get a product, it's made well, it's going to last. It's one of those things that they know by buying from you, they're getting the best that they can get. You want to have a message that resonates with your particular buyer. So you have to understand who your buyer is, what are the things they like, what are the problems you're solving for them. So, you want to think in terms of, Nike's Do It. Nike's selling sneakers, but they're really selling a lifestyle, which could be going out there and achieving things in life and going after what you want. Fitness kind of fits into that. And they know that a lot of people who buy their product are into fitness or working out, things like that. So they really align their message with that kind of do it attitude. The unique imagery that you use for your brand experience really needs to align with your buyer. So if you think your buyer is somebody in their 20s and 30s, your imagery really needs to align with that. If your buyer is a senior, your imagery needs to show a senior, but not a really old senior. You want to be a senior that somebody feels like, inside they feel younger than they look on the outside. You want to really kind of identify that. And you want to talk in terms of how they talk and the concerns they have. They really want to understand that you get who they are. Brand authenticity, everything in your marketing and communications has to be authentic to what you represent. You can't deal in platitudes and things like that. You really have to be talking authentically to your audience, saying the things that you really think and that really matter to them and that you understand how your brand aligns with them and what's important to them. Two other really important parts of brand experience is exclusivity and a product that's not a commodity. Those seem like the same things, but they're slightly different. Obviously, we talked before that you don't want to be in commodities because it usually ends up in a race to the bottom. You can get away with selling a commodity if there's some type of exclusivity tied to it. So it becomes not a commodity in the perception of the buyer. So, you think in terms of products that you eat, from one brand to another, they generally talk about what's special about their brand, even though it might be something that you can find 8 different brands on the shelf at the supermarket. And therefore it kind of makes it a commodity. The reality is the way they talk about their product, there's exclusivity involved. You get this when you use this product, as opposed to what you would get by just choosing any other product in our category. So representing what makes your product exclusive and different is really, really important part of the brand experience. So I want to use an example of a client who uses Amazon and also their e-commerce site. They started out, they were selling more on Amazon. They're actually selling more on their website right now than they sell on Amazon. And it's because over time they developed really a brand experience. And they use Amazon as a leader to introduce people to the brand in many cases. So they sell a silicone-based watch band and a watch head that goes in it. And the site contains, I think there's over 50 different styles now on the site, but they're all different random designs. Some of them are packed together as combinations, and they represent lots of different styles for lots of different type of people. But what they wanted to do was really align the brand with a young, active lifestyle. The interesting thing about watches is most people nowadays don't really use watches. They use a phone to tell the time. And these watches aren't about telling the time. These watches are about being a fashion accessory, and about being able to tell the time in an active lifestyle where you might not be able to carry your phone. We developed brand by essentially showing up at the beach. I think our first outing, we just went to a beach and we met up with some kids who were surfing, and just started intermingling with them and then connecting with them on social media. Over time, we kind of grew that community. And again, we go to events where they were, give them free product. They would take pictures with us with the product. They would do endorsements on social media of the product. And we spent a ton of time getting photography done. So showing up at events, taking pictures with these people with the product, all kinds of people, of different ages. We focused primarily with the younger audience because they would frequently change these bands and wear different colors at different times. But what we found is that if they bought their first watch on Amazon, they might buy another one, but when they got to the website, they would find all kinds of other styles that weren't on Amazon, and they could essentially dive in. And some of our most popular styles were never on Amazon. We had one or two on there, but the rest were really designs, popular designs that we kept on the website because we knew that they were to track sales that way. We begun the process of working on a continuity product. So essentially similar to something like a Loot Crate, where a parent or a guardian buys a subscription to the site, and then every month, so many, depending on the level of subscription, so many new bands would be sent to the members. And the watch head is interchangeable, so they only need one watch head, and they could switch in and out of all of their bands. We also, we initially had done some free shipping. There were some issues with doing that, so we lowered the cost of the product a little bit to accommodate a small shipping charge to go with it. So, we broke our own rule as far as that goes. But at the same time, it actually, when we were displaying exclusivity and we were displaying product that they couldn't find on Amazon, we had to worry less about how the shipping cost affected us than it would be if we were offering the same thing that we were on Amazon. Of course, we had an immediate discount if you signed up. We put that right at the top of the site so that we knew first-time buyers who were on the site would sign up for that and get the discount because they were more likely there to order new styles or look at new styles, and we gave them that incentive. So that was, a lot of what we went into to really develop this channel outside of Amazon. That's not necessarily all going to apply to, every seller's product. But there's little things in there, trial and error we did, as well as things that we talked about in the list earlier of ways to differentiate and be exclusive and be unique and have success on your own channel. But let's talk a little bit about tools. So you have a customer list. If you're a ManageByStats subscriber, you have your buyer list from Amazon in your account. And that's an extremely, extremely important list to be able to work from. These are people who have already bought your product and therefore have a product experience with you. So what we want to do is be able to continue to communicate with them, but in such a way as to not get in trouble with Amazon terms of service. So and there's a tutorial on the ManageByStats site about being able to build your custom audiences in Facebook and Google, places like that. And the only issue with following that tutorial is that it can be tedious and hard to keep up with, because if you're selling, hundreds of products a day, even a few dozen products a day, you can rapidly get behind in being able to build out your custom audiences on a weekly basis for later, even if you're not going to run campaigns right away. So we're going to cover that in a little bit as far as the system that we built to run with ManageByStats. One of the most effective things you can do to build brand experience is sponsored content. Sponsored content gives you the ability to develop your brand. It shows the value of the brand. This is not necessarily an advertisement for a product specifically, but more of an advertisement of who you are, what's your brand, who are you speaking to. You can also do that through your social content. So when I refer back to this, a big part of how we grew our audience was using social media. We were actually talking to the audiences of some of the people you see here in these photos. We would meet with people who were competing in surf competitions, who were part of random surf events or skate events, things like that, marathons. A lot of them would have small followings of people that would be growing. We would give them free product and ask them to talk about how much they, what they think of the product, how much they liked it if they did, and let us know when they wanted more. They started to talk about us in social media. That didn't cost us anything. And so photos, video, showing your product, text from third parties talking about your product, that social content actually carries a lot of weight. Again, depending on who your audience is, if your audience for your product isn't in social media, it obviously won't do as well. But social content and sponsored content kind of can accomplish the same things in different formats. Email marketing, marketing automation. Email marketing is, straight up, if you have MailChimp or Constant Contact or Aweber, something like that, it's sending broadcast or autoresponder messages to people who sign up on your list. But marketing automation is really something that we steer towards when we work with clients, in that we can build a lot of programs and rules into marketing automation that kind of exceed what you would typically do in a regular autoresponder sequence. That marketing automation is really important because it also is controlled by behavior of users who are on your list and how they interact with your website on a regular basis. So if you send emails and they visit certain pages, then you might have a new campaign that starts based on the rules that they trigger. So we have lots of triggers in marketing automation that if customers bought from you before, they look at an offer that you've emailed them, they take a look at a certain page, you could have a trigger rule that says, okay, they looked at this page, they didn't buy, so let's go ahead and immediately send them an email follow-up offer that says buy today and we'll give you 15% off right now. Those types of trigger automations help with really converting that customer to an active customer and building that lifetime customer value. So marketing automation is really the direction we lean into as opposed to straight up email marketing. If email marketing is what you can afford, then you should definitely at least start with that, so you're at least building your list. Funnel builder tools are actually a great way, an underutilized way by a lot of brands to figure out what combinations of products, what combination of offers most people will react to. So one thing we like to do is build a complete funnel on a product campaign. So if we're testing we want to test an offer and we want to drive some traffic through that offer, we'll actually build a funnel as opposed to necessarily just driving traffic to our website. Building a funnel really lets us control what that client sees on their initial visit, how they react. So we might have different triggers depending on what they click, and we might make different offers based on what their first purchase or the action that they've taken on that first funnel page. So funnel builders are a very inexpensive way to figure out what kinds of offers you can be making on behalf of your brand to really grow sales, so you could implement those types of funnel activities right into your regular e-commerce site after you run those tests. The other thing is conversion tracking, and we actually are always surprised by the number of clients who we start working with that really don't understand their end-to-end conversion path. They don't understand who's converting, what channels they're coming from, which channels offer the highest margins or the best sales, and essentially what made a person convert. There are all kinds of elements to conversion tracking. These are things that really need to be built into the e-commerce site to help you improve on all your marketing and make it work better down the road. Really, audience drill down. I'm going to get, I don't want to get too far into this, but when we talk about audience, we're talking about the people who visit your website. There are free tools. If any of you do any amount of work with Facebook ads, you know about the Audience Insights tool. Essentially, if you put the Facebook pixel on your site, Audience Insights can actually do a drill down into your audience and tell you who they are. It's not by name, but by their demographic and their interest makeup. Quantcast is another site for free that if you put a pixel on their site, they'll give you even more data on who are, what's the makeup of the people visiting your site. So that can include a lot of brand specific information. So where Facebook Audience Insights won't talk specific to other brands other than page likes, Quantcast will talk to brands. They will tell you which brands your customers who typically visit your site also buy. They use a lot of different marketing databases to accrue that information. But when you have a list of the types of brands that your customers typically buy, that goes a long way to helping you develop what your brand should look like, or how they're aligning their brand might be the direction you want to use for aligning your brand. You really get an understanding of what people are attracted to as far as your audience goes. And lastly, we have an in-market analysis tool that we're launching through a product we call LeadWorks in our system. You don't necessarily need to use our product, but you want to look for a similar product, which essentially it takes the information of people coming to your site and it does an analysis of trying to figure out which of those people are actually in the market to buy what you have. There's various levels of people who visit your website. Some are not interested. They have no idea how they don't even remember how they got to your site. And then some people may be interested down the road. Some people who definitely more interested, but probably not buying right now. And then you have your buyers at the top of the heap. And a tool like this allows you to really focus on that top 3 to 5% of your audience. It's actually probably looking to buy, and allows you to compete for that business. So whether you're doing lead generation or e-commerce, you really need a tool that can help you really drill down to who are the buyers in your market. This is a tool we have right now that's in beta. There is a cost associated with it, but if you think that is something that could help you really focus your brand once you have an e-commerce site established, then definitely contact us about that. So here at the end of this webinar, I want to talk about the system that we've built for the ManageByStats customers, and we call it the MBS Exchange. It's an automated solution that moves your Amazon buyers to custom audiences in Facebook and AdRoll, and shortly it will do so in Google as well. And it will do it for you every day automatically. It takes about a minute to set up your account. It's $19 a month. So for $19 a month, you can avoid the aggravation of having to download your lists and upload them to Facebook. And same with AdRoll, and soon with Google, which can take a half hour to an hour or more each day to do, and which most of us don't have the time to spend. This will automate that process. So every day the system will go in, look for your updated buyers, download them, and then go through the onboarding process with Facebook and AdRoll. And shortly it'll be with Google as well. It's $19 a month. It's fairly low expense to be able to automate that part of your life. Just a quick overview when you get logged in. This one actually shows a list already downloaded, but when you get logged in, obviously you won't have names of your buyers in the system right away. But there's a connect to your Facebook account right on the opening page of your dashboard. You click that button, it will activate your connection to your Facebook account. You select what ad account that you want to create the custom audience in. Once you select that, it's automatically connected. It asks for a name for that custom audience, and then every day it'll be updated. Also, if you can sign up without having an ad roll account. If you decide to do that, then your ad roll account can be added later. So essentially, we look for your email address and password. That allows us to go in, access your profile, and do the onboarding process for you. Those are really the only two interactions, connecting your Facebook account and adding your ad roll account, you need to do. The system runs automatically. There's really no maintenance to do after that. You can go in here and download your data at any point that you want to do that. Although I think you can do that in your MBS account anyway. So it's not necessary that you would do it in this account. So it takes about a minute to set it up, and then that's all you need to do from there. So we're going to take some questions. Myself and Diana Ratliff, we both work with the ManageByStats team. We also run our own advertising platform called InterDigital Media, and we're offering the support for this MBS exchange through InterDigital Media. So if you have any questions or issues, you can always email us at support@interdigitalmedia.com. The URL to sign up for the service is searchworx.com/MBSX. There's a button right at the bottom of the page that lets you create your account. Accepts credit card and PayPal. And it takes, like I said, about a minute, 2 minutes tops to really set it up. So if there's any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. If Phil or Philip or Morgan, you guys want to let me know any questions, I'll do my best to answer them.
Okay, we are monitoring the questions right now. First of all, thank you so much. This was awesome. And let me just add that, of course, on the ManageByStats side, there is no cost for this at all. This is just a completely free added feature that we did in MBS that connects you up with SearchworxX. So there's no cost on our side. And of course, you need to have a SearchworxX account for this to all work. And getting your data out of MBS and over there, yeah, there's no cost from our side. So it's a very simple thing. You have complete control over it inside of your MBS. So when you connect up ManageByStats and SearchworxX, you basically say inside of MBS that you want to do this, and then there's a little code that you give to SearchworxX that handles the whole thing. And then if you ever need to discontinue the service, you can just go in there and you can turn it off again inside of ManageByStats as well. So now we're watching for questions. One question that came up was asked whether email appends is needed to do this. Email appends is the service where we find real-world email addresses for your Amazon customers. And no, you don't need that at all for SearchworxX. This works just with the customer data that's downloaded from Amazon.
Correct. And now I will provide a caveat that email appends makes it more accurate, meaning we deal with something called match rates. Whenever you're onboarding in Facebook or AdRoll, even in Google, it's matching a few different data points. The more data points we give it, the more accurate it will be. So Facebook has usually very good match rates, around 80%. Same with Google. AdRoll is much lower, generally 50 to 60%. Those numbers obviously do much better when we have emails attached. So you don't have to have email appends, but typically the match rates will be better.
Perfect. Yeah, thanks for clarifying that.
I guess the principle is the more data they have, the better match you get.
That is correct. And I just want to dovetail all of that with you're onboarding your audiences into these systems, but that doesn't mean you have to be running campaigns. Generally, it takes 3 to 10 days for the data to be onboarded and ready to go. You don't have to use it right away. It's as simply as a way of making sure it's all in there at the point where you want to run experiments, you want to start some simplified retargeting, anything you want to start doing and testing somewhere down the road, you really want to be in a position where you already have this data onboarded and you're ready to go.
Good. There's a question here from Mo, basically saying, so the $19 covers essentially the conversion of the data from ManageByStats into the custom audiences in Facebook and AdRoll and soon Google. Is there anything else that's covered with that? If they wanted to get into retargeting and running ads and stuff like that, what services do you offer on that?
So number one, this $19 a month will actually lock you in no matter how many services we end up adding to this system. So if other services are requested and we can get permissions to go ahead and do onboarding that way, we will add those to the system, and it will always be $19 to the people who sign up who participated in this webinar. As an answer to your question, we, again, being an agency that specializes in strategy and development and the performance digital marketing, we ourselves can work with any seller who is interested in creating the actual campaigns. But however, those are separate costs. So we would have, you know, some type of retainer agreement or some type of project agreement to help you with that work. This assumes that if you're going to build campaigns or run campaigns, that either you'll want to do that on your own or you want to retain some type of help to actually set those up.
I think another thing we should mention too is that if anyone is concerned about security or anything like that, this is a very secure connection between the two companies, and the only data that goes across is customer data, and only if you have allowed it. That's it. There's no other information that goes across.
Okay, good. And we have a question from Tony saying that he missed most of this webinar. How soon and where will he be able to access the recording? So we are sending it. It was recorded. It will be available shortly as soon as YouTube finishes processing it. That could take maybe an hour, hour and a half after the webinar finishes, and you will be emailed automatically a link with the replay, so you'll be able to watch it afterwards. So shouldn't take more than a couple of hours. And I don't know that we have any other questions. I'm just looking through here.
I think we should emphasize, if I may, that for anyone who just want to kind of hear the elevator version of this, there's a huge time saver if you're interested in expanding beyond Amazon and actually create custom audiences in Facebook and Google and all that. Many of you probably do already, but you're spending a lot of time doing it. So if you're already a ManageByStats customer, this can, like Marcus said earlier, save you hours and hours and hours every month. And that's really the main criteria here, my main focus of this.
Yeah, and the other thing, of course, is this is not something that typically people get to do every single day. With this service, the data gets moved over every single day, so you're always up to date. And if you're doing advertising or retargeting on Facebook or AdRoll or Google, the sooner you can get those ads actually showing for your customers, the better. So with this happening every single day, you're essentially spending, you know, 60 cents a day or something like that to get that automatically moved over without you having to have any attention on it.
That is correct. I mean, the value proposition with this is all about saving your time. You could, of course, do this manually. All you have to do is find a tutorial within the ManageByStats site that walks you through the process of doing this manually. But from the standpoint of cost versus time, I think we can all agree there isn't a single person on this webinar who thinks that their time for an entire month spent doing that isn't worth more than $19 a month. So, you know, our job here was to really price this as a no-brainer for you. If you ever think that at some point you are going to want to advertise and start developing your brand, this is a no-brainer for you to go ahead and do. And, you know, from the standpoint of time involved, when you decide you want to run retargeting campaigns, No one wants to wait a few days or a week to be able to have those audiences ready to go. So it's a great way to just have that all done in the background and ready to go the minute you decide you want to start.
Yeah, that's 100% correct. I know. I mean, even when I do want to save money on something like this, which you certainly want to do in the beginning. The fact is, if you have to do this every day for this tool to get the maximum benefit of it, many days you just will not get to it, and then before you know it, a week has gone by, and then you go, oh my God, I need to move all these over. We do have a question for Matt. Marcus just asking, what's the minimum amount of new customers every day you recommend to have the service be worth it?
Our first pool, we look to have a minimum of 100 customers in our first pool. Beyond that, there is no minimum.
Okay, good. Okay, so there's no minimum, and I think, Matt, it just kind of depends on, if you had 3 customers a day that you were putting into this system, is the retargeting on those extra 3 customers a day worth what the 60 cents you're paying? And that kind of depends on, what kind of response rate you're getting on the retargeting ads, and if you're getting people to come in and buy. If you have a 30% conversion rate on that and people taking you up on it, then it would certainly be worth it, because you would be getting extra sales every single day from this.
Correct. It's about trying to build that lifetime customer value. So, being able to send them, whether it's an add-on product or an accessory or something, and making them aware of that through a retargeting ad or a Facebook ad or something similar to that. Even if you're only adding 3 or 5 or 10 customers a day, the value at this cost to be able to do that on autopilot is, I don't think we can put a value on that.
Right, I agree. Okay, we have some additional questions. Linda's asking, would this work if I was going to give addresses to a postcard company to do a mailing for me?
So are you asking in terms of whether this file could be sent to them, or are you talking in terms of whether or not you could download the information from the system and give it to the credit card information, or to the postcard company that's doing the mailing?
Well, it's a good question. I think let me just jump in here and answer really fast. The email appends is for email addresses. Amazon actually gives you all the postal addresses. So with postal addresses, you could just export that list out of MBS or out of Seller Central and create a list that you can send to a postcard company. We are going to be announcing something in the next month or so in MBS that would make this super simple for you. But meanwhile, you can certainly do it. You don't require SearchworxX to do it, but you can do it inside of MBS, or you can do it directly from Seller Central and just download the file. Sharon's asking, do you have to get the customer's permission to move their names to Facebook? Do you want to address that, Marcus?
Sure. The answer is no. Custom audiences can be built from any buyer or customer information you have. So there isn't really a feature within Facebook to even request their permission to add them to a custom audience. In fact, the way most custom audiences get built in Facebook is that you go in, you go through Audience Insights, you actually create profiles of the type of people you want, and Facebook will automatically add them for you. This reverses the process of basically saying, I want people that buy from me already, and down the road, I want to be able to build a lookalike in Facebook off this audience. At no point does Facebook ask for that audience permission. And in fact, as part of the sign-up process to Facebook, you're agreeing to that.
Exactly. These customers are already in Facebook, and all that's happening here is we're saying these customers are ours as well. If you already have them in Facebook, we would like to just identify them as being, our customers, so that they're our customers, and so that you can serve our ads to these people. So yeah, there's no permissions required.
I do want to dovetail off of what I just said about lookalike audiences. When you think in terms of custom audiences that you might currently create in your Facebook ad account, the one thing we would be doing is adding custom audiences of people who have already bought from you. Within that custom audience, you can build a lookalike off of that. And generally speaking, lookalikes are done off of the pixel, but in this case, you can also use this custom audience to create a lookalike. That's your ability to go back and say, all right, this is my audience I already know is buying. Can we go out into Facebook? Can Facebook find for me other people who are like this, and really start to open up who your business should be talking to?
Yes, and I but the people that have been using this for a long time said historically Facebook's custom or lookalike audiences were not all that fantastic, but Facebook's data has gotten really sophisticated, and now the lookalike audiences, from everything I'm hearing and what we're seeing ourselves, are working way better than they used to, even from just a year ago.
Yeah, we found that the accuracy curve or the conversion curve improves as we get into the thousands of users that the lookalike can be built from. So if you're trying to build a lookalike audience off of just 1,000 users, it's not going to be as good as building a lookalike off of 10,000 users.
Right, and just so everybody here understands what Facebook is doing, when you upload a list of 10,000 customers who have bought your product, at all kinds of data about these people, because Facebook has an enormous amount of data on them. They'll look at what are they buying, how much income do they have, how many children do they have. There's all kinds of data points, thousands of data points that Facebook will see, and so they will take your list of 10,000 and they'll find out what are the data points here where pretty much everybody in this list has identifiable data points that are different from the average, and then they go out and they find maybe 10 or 50 times bigger audience that has all those same characteristics as your existing buyers, and now you essentially are able to market to people who are very likely to buy, or far more likely than the average Facebook user. Okay, I think we are caught up on the questions. Morgan, do you see any other questions we haven't answered?
One from Magda, I think. She asks, if I understood well, by updating every day, it keeps feeding one custom audience. Marcus?
That is correct. You can, at any point, particularly with Facebook, go in and edit that. You can create it in segments. So you're not. The idea is that if we can't necessarily segment them by, right now I don't believe we can segment by product, so we're getting one long list. For organization purposes, we don't necessarily have the ability to segment them by what they purchased or anything like that right now. That's not the way we receive the data from ManageByStats. So yes, they're going to be in a single audience, but you can change that at any point in time that you want to change. So if you want to create a new audience and have those names go into that audience, you can easily do that.
Awesome. Okay, then I think we have covered all the questions here.
Of course, after the webinar, if there are any questions, you can certainly feel free to email myself. You can send an email to support or me directly. Same with Diana Ratliff. These are the email addresses. Hopefully you can see them on the screen. Don't hesitate to send email. Emails can be faster than phone, simply because I'm on the phone all the time, it seems like. And so you'll be getting my voicemail and I'll have to call you or email you back anyway. So I would suggest email. You'll probably get a response from me a bit quicker. So happy to answer any questions after this webinar. We are going to raise the price on this. Right now, this is being done as a special for all the people who attended this webinar and who are going to be watching the recording throughout this weekend, Monday, Tuesday, and at some point next week, we're going to go ahead and raise the price. It's likely going to be about $39 a month at that point. So you're getting it at a very extensive discount right now.
Okay, that's great. Good. So we'll end off here. We'll get the recording going very rapidly. And that should be out, like I said, within a couple of hours. And meanwhile, certainly, if there's any questions, you can write into SearchworxX support or to Marcus or Diana directly, or certainly to ManageByStats support as well. So with that, thank you so much, Marcus and Diana, for being with us today, for sharing all this fantastic content.
You got it. Thank you very much for having us. I really appreciate the time everyone gave today.
Thanks, Marcus. I learned a lot myself.
Awesome.
And to all our listeners, thank you so much for being with us, and we look forward to seeing you again soon.
Thanks.
All right, great. Thanks.
Bye-bye.